Alright, so let's talk about Fire Emblem Fates. I just finished for the first time Fire Emblem Revelations. If you remember, Fire Emblem Fates was 3 routes divided into 3 separate games, like pretty much volume 1, 2, and 3 maybe, So there's Birthright, which got a physical release, Conquest also got a physical release, and then Revelation. The only physical release of Revelations is on a special edition with a card that has all 3 games, but that's really rare and expensive, and it's pretty much the holy grail in 3DS games. So it was mostly digital for most people. So I finished Conquest and Birthright a long time ago, many years ago, and I started Revelations last year. So it took me an entire year to finish this game. Why? Because it just feels like that wasn't the original idea. Revelations is the path of the game, of the story, where you don't align your main character, you don't align yourself with either family. Instead, you go solo, you recruit characters, and eventually it doesn't take you long to start uniting both families, so everybody joins you. So Revelation should be like the definitive route, the true ending, the true route, the true adventure, the true Fire Emblem Fates. And it is, in a sense, because no spoilers, don't worry, but once you get to the final boss, you understand everything, and now you see why that's the true Fire Emblem. So I have no fucking idea what was Nintendo thinking, or Intelligent Systems, the developers, thinking. What were they thinking when making their true route and story and true ending, into a digital-only game, and its only physical release it's a crazy expensive special edition, I think that's just an insult to players. You should have sold the other routes, I don't know, in a different way, just not this, I know money, I know that's pretty much the hook, to make people buy the special edition, or to make people, go online on their 3DS and buy the damn thing. I think that's just fucking nasty, Nintendo, but whatever. But you know what? I'm not too pissed off about that, because Revelations has, while it should be the best story out of the 3 arcs, the 3 routes, it's the worst. It's the worst, it just feels so hollow, like the writers didn't give a shit at that point, and they just made it because they paid them to do it. What the writers were intending to do with Fire Emblem Fates was have the player decide between both houses. Either you decide this Hoshido house or this Nor house, and that's it. And the story, while it's still kind of bad in Fates, it really shines on either route. But in Revelations, it just feels very lazy. The writing just feels kind of dumb, generic, lazy, like it doesn't make any sense. It's just... I was impressed. I was so looking forward to playing this game. So I hacked my 3DS a long time ago and I downloaded this Revelations arc. And I started playing last year. And I think I put like 5 hours. And nothing made me go back to it until months later. And I started doing that like I was only playing for like 2 hours. Once a month. And this is important because I'm a die-hard Fire Emblem fan. And when I played Conquest and Birthright a lot of years ago, it took me like a week, like 1 week to finish them because I was hooked up. Because despite the story and characters being kind of dumb on the compile hard side of things, I thought the gameplay was still pretty solid. But in Revelations, I don't know what happened to me that nothing made me go back to it and really focus on it and finish it. Until yesterday. I thought the story was going to be much better, more dramatic. I don't know, it just feels hollow. But it's Fire Emblem Fates. The story is kind of dumb and silly and ridiculously stupid already. So let's just say Revelations has the stupidest of the 3. But it's still okay. I mean, there's some decent characters in there. And anyway, you're probably wondering, because Conquest was a really hard game and Birthright was a very easy game. right? Everybody knows that already. Revelations is in the middle. It starts off kind of easy, it starts getting harder the more you advance, and the final battles are brutal. The final boss is like 3 stages in a row, and it's brutal. You know, it's very hard because they spam a lot of high-level enemies against you. And it's very challenging, you know, but don't worry, you know, that this is one of those games where the permadeath feature is gone, so you can just turn... Well, there's the casual mode and the classic mode, but the casual mode, unlike in many other video games in existence, doesn't make anything easier. It's just there to remove the permadeath feature. That means if one of your characters dies, they come back in the next mission, no problem. So, and classic feature is the one with permadeath. But there's no, in Fire Emblem, there's no such thing as hard, normal, or easy. That doesn't exist, okay? So don't be afraid to try this game on casual if the permadeath issue affects you. Because I'm saying this because it bothers me, you know. I'm the kind of person who resets the freaking map, the mission, the entire game, you know, when one of my characters dies. Okay, but I chose classic, you know, for this one. I mean, casual. So some of my characters died at the end, and I was like, okay, they'll be fine. They don't permanently die. So it's okay, it's very hard. And the gameplay is still fine, but once again, the missions the map design leaves a lot to be desired. There are some clever features in there. There are some creative maps in there, you know, but it just feels... What I'm trying to say is that Fire Emblem Fates Revelations, in terms of both story, characters, and gameplay, it just feels kind of hollow, kind of low budget, kind of like the developers didn't put a lot of effort into that particular route, even though it's supposed to be the true route that leads to the true ending, you know? So, it's still a good game. If you really like Fire Emblem, you know, it's worth playing just to see the true ending, just to see the true route, the true story, both families united, you know, and your main character as the central figure. And that's it, you know. I think it's still worth playing, but just my advice is to expect the worst. Let's leave it at that. It's not bad. It's not a bad game. It just pales in comparison to many other Fire Emblem titles in the series. Fates, I like Fates. I'm a fan of Fates. I own the games, and I greatly enjoyed my playthrough with them. But Fates is the worst Fire Emblem game ever, in my opinion. And Revelations is the worst route out of the 3 routes in Fates. The end. But it's still worth playing. It doesn't make any sense, I know, but just give it a chance, decide for yourself. Maybe you'll hate it, maybe you'll love it, maybe you'll agree with me or disagree, whatever. Just give it a try if you can, to have your own opinion. It's an okay game.